Hello everybody, Saigan here doing a quick Quester's Rest video. Happy Thanksgiving, first of all. Secondly, two things today. One is going to be discussing my Patreon, the current patrons, future patrons, and also what my next big Let's Play is going to be. I've wrapped up the main quest of DQ4. Heroes is probably going to be finished recording next week. So I wanted to start working on gathering, opinions and everything on what people would like to see for the next major Let's Play of my channel. So what I'm doing with Patreon right now is I'm trying to get 8 games, 8, for people to vote between. And we're actually going to do this 3 rounds of voting this time, because oftentimes what I see is, we'll do a vote, and then somebody's, main choice will, be a complete and total failure, and they'd rather that they voted for a different game because they don't want to see the main one that's being voted for. So we're going to do 3 rounds. We're going to start off with 8 games, and then after the first round, we'll go with the top 4. And then people will vote again between the top 4, and then they will vote between the top 2. And then that will be the game that I Let's Play. So everybody gets, basically 3 options for what they would like to see Let's Played. And we'll probably get a better idea of what people would like to see. So far I have 5 games that I'm interested in playing. I need 3 more suggestions. There have been a couple of suggestions. I want to open this up to my patrons. And they will also be the ones voting. This is open to any level of pledge. If you're just doing $1 a month, that's cool. Send me a suggestion of a game that you would like to see me play. I have most everything. So go ahead and shoot me a suggestion. The 5 that I already have off of my own head are Wizardry 1, Ultima 1, which I have actually played and beaten Ultima 1 before, so that one won't be new for me. Never done Wizardry, though. Persona 2, Final Fantasy 1. That's right. That's right. I'm starting to consider making the dive into doing Final Fantasy on my channel, and I do really enjoy the first game. And then Dragon Quest 5, of course. Keep the Dragon Quest rolling despite, all the DQ4 and 9 and 10 rolling out to my channel. We can just drown y'all with DQ content if that's what you really want. Go toss me some suggestions. Once I have 8 games that I'm interested in playing, then we'll start doing the votes, and hopefully that game will be decided by the time I'm done with Heroes and with the post-game content for the other DQ games, and that's something that I'm working on right now. When I wrap DQ4, I made the promise I'm going to go back and do the post-game content. Because I am an honest man. I may be a slow, flaky man, but I am honest, and I did promise years and years ago with the end of the Super Famicom DQ3 Let's Play that I would do post-game. Well, I've started on that finally 3 years later, but I have started on it, and that's what matters. So that'll be rolling out after DQ4 main quest wraps. I'm going to get that done. We're going to fight Grand Dragon. We're going to get a wish granted. We are going to finish up the Dragovian Trials in 8, which I got halfway through before getting distracted. And we'll also tackle Chapter 6 in DQ4. Moving away from all that, collection update. I was very excited to find this one. Very, very excited to find this one. This is the Dragon Warrior 4 strategy guide for the NES, an actual English strategy guide, and they claim this is the first ever Nintendo RPG hint book. I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, that's pretty cool. This does have the fold-out map in it, which I need to find some way to, I don't know if I should laminate it or what, but this thing is falling apart. In fact, this is probably going to be the last time I open it before I find a way to repair it, because I am terrified it's just going to come apart. So, just, y'all can consider yourselves very special. There we go. Here's the world map, and then it's got a weapons chart on the back. You can probably see light peeking through because it is falling apart in the worst way. Like, it's in good condition, it's just all the creases have started to come apart. The strategy guide itself is in pretty good shape. It's got, full monster stats. Doesn't tell you like what they use or anything, but it tells you their hit points, their attack power, their defense power, gold, and XP, and that is about it. It's got, maps and everything, full walkthrough, and I will be following this when I do my Dragon Quest IV weekend marathon coming Memorial Weekend 2016. And I'm looking forward to using this. It's always nice to see these little, I don't know, I kind of want to call it an artifact. It's starting to feel like retro gaming is like artifact collecting. Speaking of artifacts and retro gaming, this is what I'm most excited about. This is what I really wanted to show you guys. I mentioned it on Twitter, and there were some pictures posted. I finally have an Atari 2600. I've played them before at like friends' houses growing up, but to be completely honest, I've never owned one. I've had like a variety of weird systems. Like, I almost had a Vectrix. There's a guy at work who has a working Vectrix. Sam, if you're watching, tell your dad he should still give me that Vectrix. You know who I'm talking to. Okay, so this is the Atari 2600 that I found. This is the Heavy Sixer model, the Telegames model that was made for Sears. Now, back in the day, back in the 70s when the Atari came out, Sears would only sell Sears brand merchandise. And it actually says on the back here, manufactured for Sears, Rosebuck and Company, manufactured by Atari. Now, it doesn't actually say that it's an Atari system anywhere on here. This is the Sears Telegames video arcade, but it is actually a Atari 2600. It'll play 2600 games, and the 2600 will play any Sears television games. There were a number of different models of the 2600 that came out depending on who they were manufactured for and what time they were manufactured in. On the back we have a built-in video out cable. This is an old school RCA cable that did both video and audio over one channel. And what you had to do was there was an adapter that plugged into this, and it split that into either a coax plug or VHF, UHF, which are the little dual-pronged things that you never see anymore. But I've got this old CRT behind me. It's a Sony Trinitron flat screen. Great for retro gaming. I got the adapter. It looks fantastic on there. You can see, I don't know how many people out there are familiar with Atari, so I'm actually going to do my best to go over this. So over here, we have a power switch. Then we have TV type. We can actually set this to be black and white or color, in case you feel like doing some black and white gaming. And then you've got separate skill levels for your left and right player. You can set it to novice or expert. Beyond that, you have game select. Instead of having option menus back in the day, it depended on what game number you loaded up, which changed the rules. It changed like how many players there were, how difficult it was, behavior of the game, sometimes just very, very different games all on one cartridge, and I'll get to that. And then you also have the reset button, which resets the game to the chosen game selection. If you wanted to change the game that you were in, you had to either hit game select or power. I think it depended on the cartridge. I haven't really mucked around with that too much. Reggie kind of had to help me get it started since I never owned an Atari before. Like, I was putting in the cartridge and turning it on, and I couldn't get the game started because you have to hit reset once you have the game number selected. Everybody's probably familiar with these controllers. The controllers are in fantastic shape. The pawn shop, one of the ones that I frequent, got this for $50, which was already a really good deal compared to a lot of the eBay prices for the telegames. Tested and works, $50 locally, that's already a really good deal. I was kind of holding out until Christmas because my family is very often annoyed by how bad I am about just buying my own stuff. But, it, you know, if I see a good deal, I want to pick it up. So I've been holding off. I posted on Facebook. I'm like, okay, guys, if you want to get me a gift, there's an Atari at this location. This is how much it is. It's a great deal. Just putting it out there. And then I waited. And then like a week later, they dropped the price to $30. I was like, shit, I have to buy this. I have to buy this right now. And it came with two of the regular joysticks, which just have a single button, and a joystick which, if you've never played an Atari before, it feels like the joystick is broken. Like it feels like it's stuck. It doesn't move very far at all. And that's just how it is. Interesting thing about the Atari is they're all 9-pin cords. And this is actually compatible with, well, that reverse that. The Sega Genesis has this same style of connector. It's a 9-pin connector. And the Sega Genesis controllers work on an Atari. You just use the B button, I think it is, for your single button, and then you have the D-pad, which works out really well for certain games. Pitfall, probably the most out of my current collection. And then also came with paddles. Many of you will recall these. These are what you use for the games like tennis and Pong and stuff. And you turn this, and it's got a button on it. Not sure what the button's used for in Pong, but we've been playing Warlords here, and Warlords is hilariously fun. It's 4 players, and if you haven't seen Warlords, go check out a video of it. It looks really simple and really dumb, but it is an amazing party game. Like, the kids were getting into it. But the paddles, you have 2 paddles going to a single connector. So with the 2 ports on here, you can play 4-player paddle games, like Warlords, which might be the only one, but still, it's totally awesome and totally worth it. And most Atari stuff was so heavily overproduced that a lot of this stuff is really cheap to get a hold of today. I haven't spent any more than $1 on any of the individual games that I've found. It came with Telegame's Target Fun, which was originally released under the name Air and Sea Battle, I think it was, but there's 27 different games on here. And when you got a game, it actually came with a chart. There's actually a better chart in here for the different selections, which would tell you how many games, or how many players an individual game type was, and what the nature of the game type was. Like, you know, how fast things fire, how you turn, things like that. So there's 27 different variants on here. There's 4, like, just completely different games, and then the variants between them. Very happy that this actually came in the box. Old school Sears stuff all over it. I'll just put this over here. And then I have a selection of games. And I have tested all of these, and I do have a short review for each of them. We're only at 13 minutes. I can do this. You guys don't mind the longer ones. We'll save you for last. Missile Command. I was a little bit nervous about picking up Missile Command for the Atari because it's one of those games that really feels like it was designed around the trackball. If you've ever played Missile Command, both on console and in the arcade, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's just better with a trackball. And I wasn't expecting the Atari to actually play it as well as it did. But no, this is actually a really solid port of Missile Command, and I am impressed with it. I wish I could show you guys the cover art. I don't know if I won't really pick that up too well. Go check out the Missile Command art, if that's not good enough for you. Fun game. I also got Joust. Yeah, Joust. This is another really, really good port. This is one that I played in the arcades as recently as like a year or 2 ago because one of our local arcades in town, well, Barcade, has a original machine of Joust, and I spent some time on it. Another really solid port, really fun game. All of these have been worth the money to pick up. Berserk is a top-down shooter type thing. It's very arcadey. Basically, it plops you down in a randomly generating maze that goes on forever. It's not a matter of escaping the maze, and that's what a lot of games at this point in time were. It wasn't about completing the game. Completing the game wasn't a thing. Games just kept going, so it was all about your score. And that's what Berserk is. And there's the maze, and then there's two types of enemies. There's these robots, and then there's Angry Otto, I think is his name, will spawn in each room if you've been there for too long, and he's invincible. So you have to run away from him. I'm terrible at like all of these, by the way. I also have Warlords, which I've discussed, and unfortunately this is missing the label and, you know, most of the art, but it is Warlords. And this one is essentially 4-player breakout Pong, where you have a player in each corner of the screen and you have a paddle to move a shield around your fort, and there's a ball that bounces around, and whenever the ball hits part of your fort, it knocks out that part of the fort, and if the ball breaks through and hits your player, you're out of the game, and then you have your shield and you can move it around and bounce it around at other people. One of the game types allows you to catch the ball so that you can choose where you're shooting it and which player you really want to harass the most. Usually me, if you're Pat and Reggie and Shannon. You just gang up on Saigan. That's what you do. Also grabbed Space Invaders. Another really good port. I think the arcade version is actually easier than this. This is the hardest version of Space Invaders I have ever played. It is brutal. Pitfall. It's famous. I tried it as a kid and I was shit at it. I didn't really understand what was expected of me. I picked it up again the other day because I was like, maybe I'll give it another chance. Maybe I will understand it now that I'm in my 30s. I do understand it now. I am a little bit better at it. I'm still trash at Pitfall, but I am happy to name at least one game that I have gotten better at with age. Battlezone. This is one of my favorites. This is like a super early tank sim. I definitely prefer the arcade version with its vector graphics and twin joysticks. See, in the arcade, you had, it was vector graphics, so it was all line graphics, and it looked 3D. Some versions even had like a headset that you looked through, and you had two joysticks, and one of them had a button on it. And each joystick only moved forward and back. And it controlled the treads of the tank, and then you had a little button, and that fired. And it's another one, you know, see how long you can last and survive. One shot will destroy you, one shot will destroy the enemy tanks, and go. This is definitely one of the ones I've had more fun with. I used to play it on one of those outdated websites from the 90s that nobody uses anymore, but like early online flash gaming. Battlezone was on a bunch of them, and I used to play the crap out of it at school when I was supposed to be doing work. Pole Position. I'd never played Pole Position before. Like, I'd seen it in the arcades. I've seen Pole Position. I know what it plays like. I don't think I've ever actually played it before, but I started playing it last night. Took me a little while to figure out what the hell the point of the game was, because it seemed like you just drive for 75 seconds and then it scores you. And I was like, what the fuck is going on with this? I didn't realize that you could go into high gear by tapping down on the joystick and drop back into low gear by tapping up on the joystick. Once I figured out how to go into high gear, I realized that there are checkpoints in the game to add to your time. And that way the game, you know, can just keep going based on skill level. I was initially like 75 seconds and that's it. What the hell is the high score on this? They must have gotten a high score in the first week that the game was out, and nobody's beaten it since, but I understand now. I also have Combat, which was one of the pack-in games for the original Atari, and it's got 5 different games here listed on the front. It's got Tank, which I have played. Tank is a lot of fun. I would love to get to play some multiplayer Tank. There's Tank Pong. Not a clue. There is Invisible Tank. Don't know. And then there's Biplane and Jet Fighter. And basically Jet Fighter is a faster version of Biplane, but these are like old school dogfight games that your plane is just constantly traveling in one direction, and all you can do is turn it and shoot. And it's just you versus the other guy. And that one's also fun. We had something like Biplane and Jet Fighter on our Apple II. It was called Dogfight, and it's basically the same game. So I'd played a lot of that one before. And then I have another Telegames cartridge here. Asteroids. Everybody probably knows Asteroids. If you don't know Asteroids, go play Asteroids. It's free through like a billion websites. I challenge you to not be able to find Asteroids to play online. This is another Telegames cartridge. It says that there's 64 games on here. There's hyperspace and thrust control. I haven't really fooled around with this one too much. I just played some Asteroids. This is probably the one that I would give the worst review to, because it doesn't feel much like the arcade version of the game. In the arcade version of the game, when the game started, each asteroid has like a very different trajectory, and they're all going every which way. And in this one, the trajectories all move largely vertical or horizontal with a couple of degrees of separation. You never see any asteroids traveling horizontal in this. And it was kind of weird. It's definitely... It's an okay port. There are worse Atari games. I know there are worse Atari games. But I don't know how much I'm going to be playing this one. There's better versions of Asteroids out there that are going to be much less agitating to me. And then this one. This is the one that those who follow me on Twitter already know that I'm going to talk about. Adventure! This game actually really impressed me. This game is famous for any number of reasons. It's considered to be the first action-adventure game. It's considered to be possibly the first console RPG. I think calling it an RPG might be kind of a stretch, but I can see definitely how it may have led to other true console RPGs being created. This one only has 3 games on it, which is weird for the time, but basically there are 3 skill levels. You've got the first skill level, which is kind of an easy version of the game. It's very small, it's very short. You can beat it in like 5-10 minutes, probably faster. Like a speedrun of game 1 on this is probably just hilariously quick. Game 2 is kind of like the real game. And then game 3 is the expert mode, where everything has been moved around. And I've beaten game 1 and game 2. I haven't screwed around with game 3 too much. But this was a really fun game. This is actually playable on IGN's website in a Flash player. If you've never tried Adventure, check it out. Garen loves this game. He constantly sneaks down to the basement behind me when I'm working on something else. Dad, can I play Adventure? Okay. He'll play it for a little while, and, you know, if he wins, I definitely hear about it, and if he loses, he's like, eh, and then he turns it off and walks away, but so good. I am keeping an eye out for certain other Atari games. I hear Yar's Revenge is really good. I watched some video for it. I don't understand it, but I don't know. Maybe my mind will be changed. Like, my mind has been changed about Pitfall. I think that Pitfall is a great game now. I've been really, really enjoying playing the Atari 2600 because I know a lot of you think that I'm old, but this system was out before I was born, like by a couple of years. So this was not in my initial generation of gaming, but a lot of this stuff does hold up very well. Find one. It's great. All right, folks. Thanks for watching. Again, if you're patroned or would like to help choose the next game that I'm going to Let's Play on my channel, check that out. Link below. think of some games that you might be interested in me playing. That's it. Saigan out. Thanks for watching, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving.